Hey everyone, Harry here from Chicago, where we are starting the second day later today of the DNC convention, and this is a recap of what happened yesterday, which in summary is quite a bit. Okay, so the Dems had a pretty coordinated procession of speakers, really kind of strategically organized and coordinated to hammer home certain themes and issues. Went a little bit awry toward the end, such that the main emotional centerpiece of the evening, Joe Biden's speech, actually took place an hour after it was supposed to. But nevertheless, that certainly didn't matter a whit to the 30,000 plus screaming folks in the United Center where the Chicago Bulls play ball. Let me give you my sense of the themes that I distilled from the various speeches that at least yesterday they were trying to hammer home. So many speakers got up and gave their personal stories of a stable middle-class upbringing or an upbringing that actually aimed to break into the middle class and had troubles. Maybe the most dramatic here, AOC, who was incandescent, anyway, really rocked the rafters. 6 years before, she was bartending, and they had no money, and a parent had died, and the like. But that kind of personal story, I think, meant to hit home the notion that the Dems are the party of the middle class. We heard middle class 200 times yesterday, but not simply by policy preference and by, instinct, but by the lives they lead. So there was a real concerted effort to say to the middle class of this country, we are one of you, and therefore this in fact was a big applause line from AOC. She Kamala Harris, will protect the middle class because she comes from the middle class, and all the sort of set pieces, a little film of Harris were really on that theme pretty consistently. The other diversity, that is, all the speakers together really had a kind of rainbow effect of, coming from different economic backgrounds and certainly races, colors, but geographic, and really the notion of an all-out embrace, which I'm sure will be the opposite of a selling point to the Trump types, an all-out embrace of we are best together, e pluribus unum, you could say. This country is great because of its diversity. That was the second, I would say, main theme. And the third, and only the third theme, tonight anyway, last night that is, was Trump is dangerous, Trump is bad. Mallory McMorrow of Michigan, the sort of state senator who's risen to stardom in the last couple years, carted up a Project 2025 book that was like this big that she had to hoist onto the podium and talk about, and they're going to be coming back to that, and it looks like maybe every single night. But that third, what you might have thought that would be a lead, but remember, Harris has seized an initiative and popularity based in large part on this sort of joyful countenance and upbeat approach. And so they were careful and made it secondary at most, at least yesterday, that Trump is such a dangerous man. Okay, I saw those as the cornerstone themes. In addition, something that couldn't help but be on display was a sort of old versus new theme. So you had some of the new leaders, but at the same time, a real, star turn and almost a kind of, a little bit like Lifetime Awards at the Oscars, a sort of final tribute to people whose, turn on the stage is ending. So Jesse Jackson was there, didn't speak, but they gave a little rendition of his famous 1994 speech. Hillary Clinton, I don't want to call her, well, I mean, in fairness, she's still looked very vital and rocked the House, But she told a story of 2016. It felt like the old guard. And then, of course, the ultimate passing of the baton at the end of the evening, which I'll come back to, the president. Okay, so those three themes generally, and then old versus new. I'll give you, there were many emotional high points. As I've mentioned, AOC just brought the house down. She's, an amazingly talented speaker. Mallory McMorrow, I told you about. And then there were sort of a series of everyday types, not everyday exactly, leaders in their fields, but people that people didn't know. Union leaders, for example, and other people from, not necessarily the kind of national figure. Okay, and then all this leading, of course, to the emotional, dramatic centerpiece of the president. Let me say, as sort of unsentimentally or journalistically, I guess, as I can, I think Biden's had a phenomenally successful presidency. I think what happened to his stepping aside had to happen, and all in all, it was quite a capstone to a 50-year career. That said, the last third or so of the program, speeches dragged on for a while, and he actually did the President of the United States take the stage an hour after he was supposed to, and the bulk of his 45-minute speech was not during prime time. And it was also, to me, had a real, it's a strategic choice, but he could have had a very sort of elegiac, there were certainly moments of things he cited, gave my heart for this country. But 90% of it was kind of State of the Union-ish, a real recitation of achievements, and you weren't exactly sure at any given moment where the speech was, and it went on a long time. Look, it's his due, it's his speech to choose. Nevertheless, it added to a sense of a kind of, top heaviness, I guess I literally bottom heaviness, the latter part of the program, where things were not as crisp or disciplined. And as I say, it was really a speech about himself, as it should have been. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz didn't figure in really till close to the end of it. And it was sort of a one foot in front of the other recitation of a really remarkable achievements rather than a kind of elegiac, or you could say rhetorical or poetic kind of leave-taking. He had a little bit of that at the end, and then Kamala Harris and his family and Tim Walz all came on stage, embraced, and there was this sudden realization, holy cow, in some symbolic way, though he's still president for 5 more months and has pretty important work to do, this really was a symbolic passing of the baton. Joe Biden, until 2 months ago, the putative nominee for the Democratic Party, was turning it over to Kamala Harris and leaving town. He won't be here for the rest of the convention. So that drama was inherent, even though it was accompanied by a speech that was more prosaic than poetry. Still in all, it was, one more, maybe the culmination, the emotional high point of a evening that, at least from my perch in the United Center and not on TV, seemed full of many of them. So, a solid first day, if a little bit long, with some. And I'm sorry, I forgot the number one emotional moment other than Biden that I wanted to mention, which is Kamala Harris appears for a 3-minute kind of cameo, a little speech, and the House went nuts. And just berserk for 3 minutes, like, wow, did that just happen? And then left. Okay, so that's the full-on profile, but ending with this really sort of pretty palpable, not even symbolic, passing of the torch to a new generation of leadership, Harris and Walz. Much more to come tonight. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.